Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. So good morning. So I'm super excited this morning because I've got Nurse Toya with me, okay? So first, before we start talking to Nurse Toya, I want you to like, subscribe, comment on the video. If you like the video, tell us what we're doing good. Tell us what you would like to see. Also, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on Apple Podcasts, like it, and then send us a review that helps get it out so that we can tell everybody about all the amazing nurses that we see. So we have Nurse Toya. So Nurse Toya, tell us who you are in your own words.
Yes, ma'am. So my name is Nurse Toya. I've been a registered nurse for 16 years, kind of did a little bit of everything, did a lot of cardiac stuff, started out actually on the stroke floor, did CVICU, PCU, and then did home health and hospice. And then over time, while working at the hospital and during the panoramic, as I like to call it, the pandemic, I was helping out with the nursing students kind of in some Facebook groups and kind of seeing them coming up with the same question over and over. They just couldn't pass the dosage calculation. They were struggling real hard. And I had my little Steve Urkel moment. I was like, you know what? I can do that. So I wrote a book for them. And it did really well. And then I created a webinar and a course. And now I'm building a platform for nursing students, nursing education institutions, and hospital systems so that we can teach dosage calculation in a way that's effective so that we can decrease medication administration errors and save lives.
You better do it.
Man.
Do it. Love it. I love it. Okay, so we're going to get to that. So tell me a little bit about, just a little bit about kind of how you grew up, because we talked about that. You grew up in a small town, and you tell me a little bit about how you grew up.
Yeah, so kind of grew up in a very small town here in Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma, so if there's any Okies out there, how y'all doing?
She was the only Black person I knew from Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's the first question. First, they didn't even know people were over there, and then they're like, "There are Black people in Oklahoma." I'm like, "Yeah, a lot of us, a lot of us over here." But yeah, I grew up, and my mother passed away kind of when I was real young. I was a toddler. I was like 3 or 4, and so then I would stay with my grandmother, and then ended up staying with my aunt, and so they raised me, her, and my uncle, and my dad. Like, I didn't even really meet my dad until I was like 12, and then he ended up passing away like on my 18th birthday. I was at work down at the Bronx. I don't know if y'all have a Bronx, y'all are. And yeah, and they came in and they're like, he passed away. And even though I had met him, I wasn't very close. So I was like, yeah, I can stay at work. I'll be fine. And all my coworkers were like, are you sure? But we don't have that kind of connection. So kind of just grew up where we were like, I think very, very poor. And I didn't know it because I was, we were kind of happy kids, always out there playing. We always had, a roof over our heads, and the lights might have got cut off once or twice, but they came right back on, right? That sort of thing. We always have food to eat, and so we were poor, but we weren't poor in spirit, I guess I would say. So never did we dwell there, but I was always a super smart kid, hard worker, and luckily for me, like my grandmother noticed that, and she started me reading very early, and so it kind of gave me a head start when I went to school, and I always did really well in school, and so teachers would kind of look out for me and support me and make sure I had the things that I needed, put me in programs, gifted and talented, and sort of gave me a way to kind of, climb that economic ladder and get out of the situation that I was in.
I love it. So that's really, really good. It's funny how, your grandmothers have that foresight, right?
Yeah.
Because, right now with my grandchildren, I'm very intentional about kind of how they go out, right? And the affirmations and, trying to program their brains to, I can do anything I want to do, right? There are no limitations. There is no box, right? So we can do exactly what we want to do. So that's really, really good. Good job, Grandma. I mean,
Yeah.
I got some hand clappers, but we might not do that on here. So okay. So now, what was the thing that you decided? Well, I want to go to school to be a nurse.
Okay, so that's like I love being a nurse. So when y'all hear this story, do not judge me. So I was going, I was going to school, and I was just a professional student, honey. Like when I finished college, I had enough credit to get 2 degrees because I just went to school. And like my my uncle had always told me every time he lived in Kansas, he'd come down and he would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be a doctor? And I was like, yeah. So that was really my thing. I was really going to go to school to be a doctor. So I was at community college doing my prereqs for that. But then, when you grow up with poverty and like I've had a job since I was 16. Like the day I turned 16, I was working. So I was working, you so poor, and I wanted to be a doctor. But I was like, man, it's going to be a long time before I get to see any of this pay off. And I was walking by like some building and I seen the applications for nursing school. It was the last day. So I turned them in like at the last hour, my application and my essay, and I got in. And I was like, what? And so I was like, you know what? This must be a God thing because, we're trying to do what you're supposed to do. What's that book where the guy says the universe will conspire to help you? And so I got in. I did not even at that time have a laptop or anything, and the program had just got funding, and so the class I was in all got free laptops. And so when I say like everything I needed like came through for me. And actually when I actually first started college, I did not even like have a car. But I was determined to go, and so I did have a job. And so my cousins and my sister, they didn't have the money to put gas in their car, but I was like, I'll put gas in your car, but you're gonna have to drop me off at school and pick me up. So that's how I finessed that. And then I finally got a car when I was working at the Bronze, and I got promoted to manager. I was like, well, I can't be getting a ride to the bank. So I finally went ahead and got my license and got a car, and then I had a car to drive to college. But yeah, so it was like I really feel like a God thing. Like, because I was always meant to be a nurse, like truly standing in my purpose of being a nurse and teaching and educating. So
I love it. So you said you work where now?
Huh?
What did you say you worked?
At Brahms. It was like, it's like if you know Sonic, so it's like they have like hamburgers and shakes. It was very much known for the ice cream, so shakes and sundaes and ice cream cones. We had a little grocery section over there, child. So yeah, at the Brahms.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So now, so you had all these credits. You went to nursing school. You had a great time. You got out of nursing school, and then what did you start your career?
I started at St. John Medical Center here in Tulsa on the stroke unit. And at that time, it was 9 West. I think it still is 9 West because I just took my students over there for clinical not too long ago. 9 West, and it was the brand new stroke floor. It was night shift, was it 7 to 7, all new nurses, which was crazy. I was like, they should go to jail for that. They better be lucky because that could have been dangerous for patients. But they were just trying to fill the shift, all new nurses. And then we would have float nurses come and help us. Like we used to have this one all-time Miss Sandra, a Black lady who, yeah, she helped us out so much, baby, because we didn't know nothing over there.
Yeah, for that, because you don't have a bunch of new nurses on the same unit.
Yeah, we was charged nurses and everything. Like had no business charging not nothing, but when you're young and you're a new nurse and you don't know any better, you're just trying to take care of people and do your job. And they say, hey, will you do this? You do it, and that's why it's so important to really have members, mentors, and people and other fellow nurses who are older and more seasoned, so you can say, hey, they're asking me to do this. Would you do this as a new nurse? So you can get that input and feedback.
That's right. That is so good. That's so good. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand, what will, because when I first came in nursing, those things that I had to do, I tell people all the time about I was on this med surg. It was a med tele floor, and there were 25 patients on the floor. And we had an RN, and it was 2 LPNs. At the time, I was an LPN. And this other young lady was an LPN too. And then there was the RN that was there. And so she said, well, I'm coming to check the charts to make sure all the orders are laid out. Well, listen, I need for you to put some hands on these patients, okay?
Right.
And so she had, one of us had 13, one of us had 12. I mean, it happened multiple times, right? And I had no idea. And I knew that I was running for my life. Like, I was like, this is crazy. I don't know why I feel like this, but it was because I did not have the, I didn't have the mentorship. And so it's really, really important to have that. I'm glad you touched on that. So now tell me, so you get on this floor and you are this person, but then you end up somehow transitioning into teaching students. So when did that happen? Like, what did that transition look like?
Well, it started about with 2020 when I was in those Facebook groups and I saw those nursing students struggling, and I wrote the book and it did really well. It's called The Trap Guide to Nursing Dosage Calculation. So
it's called the what?
The Trap Guide to Nursing Dosage Calculation. It has a lot of like hip hop and urban influences in there. Lots of color. It's only 100 pages. It just gives you exactly what you need in a fun and colorful way. So you learn this stuff so you can pass and be safe, right? And not be all stressed out because of dosage calculation, because it really is extremely important, but the way we deliver it just is not it, right? So I wrote that, it did really well. And then I was like, well, they probably need a little bit of instruction. So I started doing this webinar. I used to do a free 3-hour webinar like every week. That my OG students, they know all about it, honey. They was in there with their books learning. So I used to do that. And then I created an entire course that had practice questions and, downloads that work sheets and all this stuff. So I did a lot of that. And then nursing students kept saying that they really, really needed an app and a platform. And so I said, let me go build this thing, which was a lot more than I expected. I've been very lucky to get in several wonderful accelerators with builders and backers. There's one here called the NEST program through the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce here in Tulsa. Was very blessed to get in that program. Was also in Cherokee. And so the Cherokee Nation had a women's accelerator last year. It was the first one, the inaugural one. And so I was very lucky to get in that accelerator just to help build the business and build the app. And now I've also been very blessed to work with a company called I2E out of Tulsa in their Bridge 2 program. And that's just something that I think is really important. People might get mad about it, but, nurses really are the future, right? We are always on the receiving end of technology, and most of the time it don't work, right? They create these things, spreadsheet, and then give it to us. They don't know how we work. They don't know what we're doing, and nobody asks us until after they've already created, and then they have to go back and re-engineer. And so nurses need to be on the front. So the front end. So if you're creating something for healthcare, the nurses are going to use, that you need to be talking to us. And I said that to say this. Nurses, we also got to let us in. There are lots of nurses who are innovating, who are creating, who are running businesses. And when you see them, you need to join in. You need to ask, how can I support you? You need me to share this. Sometimes for me and myself, I need places to do my beta or pilot program to test the app out. Can you get your school to do that? There are ways that we can help each other build and grow. And yes, sometimes nurses might be making money, and that's okay, because the doctors make money, these large corporations make money, all the people that everything we use, they're making money. And so if nurses are creating and innovating into the space and helping healthcare reduce medication errors, save lives, reduce costs at the hospital, then they should be compensated appropriately for that. I read an article where there are a couple nurses who integrated some processes that saved their facility $300 and some $1,000 that year. They should got compensated just like the doctor does for every patient he brings to the hospital. And I know that's controversial, but we have to start thinking about these. If you see a nurse and she's making money, that's not a bad thing. If you see a nurse and she's running a business, that's not a bad thing. If you see a nurse and she's creating and innovating, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, and we should support him or her or whoever it is.
It's definitely, and it needs to be normalized. It's interesting to me because what happens sometimes is that you come into that space and, people are like, well, if I had the knowledge, then I would just give it away for free. How many times have you known any people to give away for knowledge for free? That is crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy. And I think that it is almost like, Dr. Jonelle Conley, she was talking about it. And so she does this, like she does this whole program on nurse bullying, right? And one of the things that she talks about is that nurses are like right in the middle, right? So they got the patients that are over here. They've got the C-suite that's up here, right? And so because they're right in the middle, what happens is they can't control what the C-suite does. They can't control what the patient does. And so they're right in the middle, and they have this, I don't deserve more, almost trauma, and you do. Right. So at the end of the day, nurses are the ones who bridge the gaps. And, it's so, what you said right then was just so rich, because it should not be controversial. It should, nurses are the ones who literally are standing in the gap, and they understand the gaps, right? And because they understand the gaps, because I was like, and I used to be, I said it on this morning. I said, one of the things that I used to do is I used to complain all the time about the problems. Right. But then I became a problem solver, right?
That part.
And when I became a problem solver, that's when my life changed. Yeah. Because you look at it differently and you're like, well, how can I make this different? Because, at the end of the day, it's saving lives. But let me tell you something. I love how you to name the book Trap Something.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we have to reach students where they are. And it's okay. Like, that's the book I sell to nursing students. Now, I know I could not sell that to nursing institution because they're not going to be able to do that. I understand that. But we do have to do
just relabel it. That's all.
Yeah, right.
That's all.
We got to do a better job as nurse educators, as meeting students where they are and knowing that this is a different brain. And I had to start stopping myself when I was in nursing school. When I was in nursing school, it was real different. Did we have social media? Yeah, but I didn't grow up with social media. I didn't have an attention span that's 5 seconds long because all I do all day is scroll up and down on my phone all day. The students today have a different experience of life and of technology, and their attention spans are really very much short because of the environment that they grew up in. And so we have to mitigate that some way. And us as nursing instructors, we don't like to do it. We don't like to do it.
That's really important because at the end of the day, and I like how you've innovated, and I like how you created an app forward, right? Yeah. Thinking ahead of the game. So what made you kind of think ahead of the game like that? Because I've never thought that I would create an app. Okay, let's be clear. Okay, what I've never thought about. So go ahead. What made you think like that?
Really, because I had wrote the book and I had been teaching students, and the students were like, well, do you just have an app? Because they were like, I just need to be able to download this and use it. And I was like, yes. And then I found out that nursing instructors also struggle teaching this. And so it was not just a problem on the nursing student side, but on the nursing instruction side. And so then I was like, well, let me see if I can build this thing. And then here comes back to that thing I was talking about support, and that it's okay for nurses to make money, because up until, and I still work full-time as a nursing instructor, but up until February this year, I was working full-time at the bedside and still trying to run this business, all bootstrapped, all my money, trying to build this thing for nursing students and nursing institutions so that they could have this education. I don't want nursing students failing out because they couldn't pass the dosage calculation test, but I also don't want nursing students getting pushed through when they can't pass it, because then that's not safe. But it costs a lot of money and a lot of time. And I could not do that for free. The money has to come from somewhere to build those things. And I want nurses to understand that, there are lots of things that we can use and we can create and build, but it's going to take support, and it's going to take it takes money too. Like they just don't pop out of thin air. Like just to get a small web ad, what's called an MVP, a most viable product built, is going to cost you about $5,000, and that's not even perfect. That's just something that we can get out there to test to see if this is what we should have been building for $5,000, and that's if you can outsource it. Because if you get it built in the United States, it's probably going to cost you $10,000 to $20,000, right? And this isn't even something you can sell. This is something that we're just testing, right? So it's an intense game. It takes a lot, but if we join together, if we support each other, we can do this. And that's another reason why I'm working on creating a group in Oklahoma called the Oklahoma Nurse Innovators Network. So I can get all the nurses who are building, who are business owners, who are in informatics, who are into technology together, and show them, hey, this is where I've been. This is the network I got into. If you want to do this, go here. If you want to do this, talk to that person. Bring us all together, because we're all doing these things kind of separate, and if we come together, we will be so much more powerful, and especially here in Tulsa. Tulsa's been designated as a tech hub, so there's lots of money in here coming in to support businesses and innovation, and nurses need to be getting a little piece of that, honey, and I'm trying to help us do that.
That's right. I know that's right. So, you said something too that was very valuable about being on the front side of that tech, right? Because I remember, so we had one computer system. I'm not going to say the names of the computer system because, people ain't coming out the main.
We don't want no trouble today.
We had one computer system. It's a major computer system, okay, for hospitals. There's at least two major ones, right? We had one of them. And I remember having the system, and it was highly customizable, right? Which I like. I kind of like, but I didn't like. But, because there's good and bad about being customizable, and then there's good and bad about being, not customizable. And so this particular one was, and I remember us traveling to this campus and really learning about the technology. We learned about the technology. It was just, it was, I was like blown away by all that they wanted us to do. And I was like, first of all, that was when I learned that I did not want to be an informatics nurse. I don't want to be one. I was like, nope, don't want to do that. I'm not coding nobody's nothing. Okay. And so I came back, and when we came back, I remember my manager, when we were getting ready to go live, I remember her sitting and crying. And I was terrified. Right. Because what people don't understand is that when you change computer systems, you almost shut down your communication, your channels of communication, and you don't know how to then communicate and how that's going to come across. And when you can't communicate, the thing that will kill people, the thing that will kill a business or kill anything is lack of communication. That part. And so we couldn't do that. So then we got the next one, and that one wasn't customizable. But then we had this big system that we had to go through 10 layers of bureaucracy in order to change something. And that was a hot mess. And I was like, listen, my family members come to this hospital. Okay, I'm coming with them because this is crazy. But anyway, I love that. So now tell us what is like on the up and coming, or can you tell us? Is that a secret?
What's coming up and coming with the Dust Calc app? Okay, so we're building this. Really, it's going to be a robust app that's going to have practice questions. It's going to have educational videos. We're going to be able to track weaknesses, so we can see that immediately where they're falling back. And there's all kind of cool things that we want to add to, and with the videos, and just being very, very, very visual to show them step by step how to do the math, and to test them and get them ready so that they pass the first time. And not just pass the first time, but also retain that information, which is why we're integrating learning science. Learning science is really not integrated in the way that we teach math, and not just in nursing education, but across the board. We do like a mass effect when we should really interleave things. So that's one of the key things that we're going to do, is to make sure that we integrate that learning science We're going to teach multiple calculation methods and make math equitable, because that's another thing. And then they're going to be mad at me about this too. Because in nursing, we only want to teach dimensional analysis, but not everyone is going to be good at that, right? Not everyone is going to be able to adapt that effectively, right? Because we all come from different places. We've all had different types of education. We all have different brains. We all learn differently. And what learning science tells us and what math science tells us is that we teach multiple methods effectively, and then we let the student choose which one is best for them. But what happens in nursing education a lot of times is that the teacher is either really good at dimensional analysis or she's really good at formula method, and that's the method she can teach you, and then you're gonna have to learn that other one on your own, which is okay. But now that other one we can teach you. Right, so we're going to step in the gap and help support nurse educators. So if they're not strong in dimensional analysis, that's okay. You can use this, and it's going to train them how you need them to be trained.
Well, I think I had the formula one. What is dimensional analysis?
That's the one with the long lines, and you put everything on the line, and then you cross them out like units, and then you multiply across and get your answer. Across the bottom, across the top, across the bottom, and then that last answer you get after you multiply, you divide the top by the bottom.
Yeah. I would have went with the formula one too.
Yeah. And
I think that's what I grew up with, right?
Yeah, and everyone's different. Everyone has a different brain. Everyone learns differently. Everyone's had different education, and we need to make space for that in nursing education.
I love that you said that, because my son, he would bring stuff home and I'd be like, listen. I was like, that's not the way you do that. And he'd be like, well, Mama, that's not the way I was taught. I was like, well, listen, this is the way you do this.
Right, exactly.
So he would appreciate you, okay?
Everybody learns different.
This is what Nurse Toya said. She said that I could do it this way.
Yes. And I'm okay with that, as long as my thing about it is you're going to have less mistakes if you're using a method that you feel confident in and that you practice using, rather than using a method you're scared to use, you don't know how to do it, and it just doesn't jive with the way you learn. That's not going to be good for anybody. So
I love it. Okay. So I got some youbomb.com. But anyway, let's talk. I got some. We're almost at the end, so let's I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay, let's go.
What has been the most rewarding thing about nursing for you?
I think the most rewarding thing about nursing to me, really, and this is going to sound so cliche, but the patients. I have had patients teach me about disease processes, about drugs I had never heard of, that have showed me how to be a nurse, honey, when I didn't know how. And then some of them just really, they become part of your family, even though we do have that distinction and that barrier. There are some of my patients that I just love to death and that love me too. And I remember working hospice and just being on the port, broke down. Right, I'm broke down, and the family's like, well, I'm gonna try to be strong. Well, baby, you go ahead, because I'm not gonna be able to be strong. You know what I'm saying? So I think really the patients really have been the best, and the driving force. I made wonderful friends along the way, fellow nurses and CNAs and techs, and that's another thing. Y'all better put some respect on them CNAs' names, because baby, you can't do nothing without them. But yeah, I think that's really been the best thing as a patient.
I love it. So tell me, what is the most common misconception about nursing?
I think the most common misconception about nursing is that I got two. One, that we just make all of this money, when there have been plenty of nurses who work paycheck to paycheck, who are debt, who are struggling, because when you make more money, that, more money, more problems. So not all nurses make a ton of money, depending on where they live. And then also, I think it's about the misconception about what we really do. We really are a science. Nursing is a science, right? It is a STEM. We use extensive critical thinking, and though we will wipe your bottom when you need us to, there are lots of other things that we do that are just as extremely important and very much science based, very much math based. So we're science. I think that's
I
the
love it.
big.
I love it. I love it. So what are you reading now?
Okay, so I was a facilitator at the Tulsa Idea Challenge this past weekend. Really cool, sponsored by Builders and Backers. I just want to say for my room, the creators, we had 3 teams win in the whole contest, and they won like a total of $16,000 in micro grants. I was like, go team! Okay, but they gave us a book called Start With Why. Let me see who it's by. And so I started that today. Yep, I want to do. I might have it right here. Yeah, but it was. I take it out.
Like his birthday, he has the same birthday as I do.
Desi, I'm trying to find the name of it. Let me get it my Audible.
Yeah.
Because I always get the physical book and then I get it on Audible because I'm weird. So.
Yeah, he is. He has the
Yeah, Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek. Okay, yeah. Start with why. So that's what I'm reading right now.
The compound.
That's right. One of the I read that, and so now I don't do anything. It was probably one of the best books for me as it relates to how am I going to move forward, right? Because if the why doesn't make sense, we ain't doing it.
That part.
So literally it changed how I looked at things. And so when people would come to me with things in healthcare, I'd be like, well, why are we doing that? Right.
Exactly.
I stopped, just going ahead and doing it. Why are we doing it this way? It doesn't make sense to me that we're doing that this way. Right. And so that kind of changed the way I looked at things. So now, who is a leader, living or dead, that you would like to have a conversation with?
Ooh, that's a good one. I said that's a good one. Let me think. There is many people. Oh, that's a good one. Who would I want to talk to living? There is a guy. Hold on, let me see if I can Google real quick. He created these, and it doesn't really have to do with nursing, but he created like this micro loan system in Africa. I think he won like the Pulitzer Prize or something like that. What was his name? I can't remember his name, but whatever his name is, I would like to meet him. And I know it really has nothing to do with nursing, but just the ability to use community to elevate the community, right? And do that on a global scale. What would that do for the world?
I love
that
it.
would just like, micro grants of, money, but also that could be, created and transformed into lots of things.
I love it. I love it. Okay. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie. Let's see. I can't even. I don't really watch movies too much anymore, but I will say one of my favorite movies is like the. This is gonna sound terrible. Was like the Roots documentary. I used to watch it every time. People were like, "You are so crazy," but yeah, I used to watch all the episodes every time.
You have to learn your history in order to, be able to move forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's okay. That's definitely okay.
Yeah.
Now, how do you define success?
How do I define success? I think I really define success on the impact. Did I have the intended impact on the people that I wanted the impact to happen for? And was it positive? Were they better after this interaction? And that's really how I define success, because even if you're building a business or building a technology, whatever you're building, there are people on the other side of that. And I do my best not to lose sight of that, because at the end of the day, it's the people that matter and the people that we're trying to help. So
I love it. And what's your life's motto?
My life's motto. I think right now, just because I've lost a lot of people, from I think it was 2021 to 2022, I lost 3 of the closest people in my life within 7 months. And my aunt and uncle who died, or who raised me, died within 11, 12 days of each other. And so it was really tough. But I think what came out of that was the spirit of now. I ain't got no more time. Tomorrow's not promised. So whatever I'm going to do, I'm about to do it today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this now. I think.
You know, I love that, because that is one of the reasons why I'm such a high executor.
Yes.
Is because I don't believe that we have time to waste. And because I saw so many people in the emergency department and they would die. Like,
Right.
I would be like, so, and like they may have come in, or they were, young and vibrant and had this car accident and then they would die, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that is really, really good. And I don't think people understand that.
Right.
Sometimes they think that, and someone said this, they said, it is arrogant to think that you have time. It is arrogant. And so that's the reason why I'm very intentional about that. So now tell us what can we find you? Where can we find our app?
And you can go to dosageapp.com right now. You can get on the wait list, fill that little form out, which will help me a lot. I would sure appreciate that. And then I have companies, Dosage app, you can follow on all the platforms. Because I'm a nurse, my original company, you can follow on all the platforms. And then me, my name is Latoya Smith, and I'm just Latoya Smith everywhere.
Sweet. I love it. So thank you, Latoya, for coming in and just really giving us a wider view of how we can do nursing and how we can make the profession better, and save patients' lives, right?
Right.
I'm extremely proud of what you're doing, right? Because my mind didn't think. Okay, I would have never thought an app, right? Now I would think an app, but you probably thought about that before I would think about it, right? So thank you, and so to everybody. So again, I ask that you like, share this podcast, put a comment in the if you like it. Also, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're on Apple Podcasts, I ask that you leave a review and give us, however many stars that you want to give us, but tell us what we're doing good, what we're doing bad, so we can get the nurses out. The nurses are amazing, and we can do anything that we put our mind to. So you ladies and gentlemen, you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.